Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to break down something everyone thinks they understand, but very few actually do. And we're talking about self-defense. What the law really says, how less lethal launchers that could actually fit into your personal protection plan, or even your EOF. But here's the kicker on that. And that's how today's political climate might actually turn you into a criminal, even when you're the victim. I've been seeing reports on this, and this is why I brought this out. You don't know what's going on today with the way politics are, how some people in the political aisle either trying to disarm you, and they're basically giving criminals more rights than those who are actually trying to defend themselves. I did put out a video earlier, a little short 2-minute video. I wrote the script, created the scenes, used AI to mesh it all together. Something I'm experimenting with. Hope you guys, if you haven't, check it out. It's informative. But anyway, legally, self-defense is your right to use force to protect yourself or someone else, specifically your family, from an imminent threat of harm. But there are conditions, and we all know that most laws in the U.S. require 4 key factors to be present. Okay. One of them is imminent threat. The danger must be immediate. All right. It has to be happening right there, right then and there for you to even say it's self-defense. It can't be somebody yells at you or does something to you, and about 10 minutes later you want to go back, which is considered retribution. The other is proportional response. Now, I mentioned this before in the previous video. Your response can't exceed the level of the threat. Now, I've always adhered to the rule, force has to be equal to or greater than. Now, when I mean by greater than, I don't mean overly excessive. I mean if your life is in imminent danger, exceed their force in order to stop. All right? The other is reasonable fear. A sensible person in your position is going to have to feel endangered. You literally have to feel that you are in some kind of danger. And the fourth one is you have to be the non-aggressor. You didn't start or escalate any of the confrontations. Okay? You can't just go up to someone, and that's common sense, pick a fight, and then turn around and use lethal force. Or non-lethal, whatever it is. There is an instance in my home state where 2 kids got into an altercation. There's different sides of the story, but ultimately one kid stabbed another, and people are making that kid out to be the hero. Now, that's going to be controversial. Maybe some people are not liking what I say. If you actually know about it, I don't care. I'm just saying what I think about it. It's my opinion. And I know I don't know all the facts in particular, but the point that I'm trying to make is you pull out a blade and stab someone, that's excessive force. That's not self-defense. And that's my opinion, and that's that. All right. Now, put simply, take for example, if someone breaks into your home and runs at you with a weapon. Defending yourself makes you sensible, and it makes sense under law. But if you're running away and you shoot them in the back, they're running away, that's not self-defense. That's excessive force, and it can cost you everything. And that should be common sense, but in the heat of the moment, maybe some people don't perceive it that way. Now, what is not self-defense? Let's talk about what doesn't qualify as self-defense, because this trips people up all the time. Imagine you're throwing a punch after an argument hours later. That's revenge. Hitting someone who's walking away, that's retaliation. If a person's walking away, then it's being de-escalated. Pulling out your launcher because you're annoyed, well, that's instigation. And it's also dangerous because what if the other person has a live firearm or any other weapon? You know, less lethal is not made, you know, for offensive purposes. All right. So retaliation, revenge, and instigation, none of that holds up in court. Self-defense is about survival. It's not about payback. You know, once you're the aggressor or use of force that goes beyond that situation, you're no longer on legal solid ground. You know, that's going to be your fault, and that's on you. Can't complain about it. Now, let's talk about less lethal launchers themselves. You know, these are defensive tools. The civilian version, there are defensive tools that give you stopping power, you know, without the legal consequences of a firearm. It's one of the purposes. All right, you have your pepper bar launchers, your rubber bullet pistols, which most people don't have, taser style launchers, your burner, your JPX, or any similar device, you know. Think of them as a middle ground. You know, they can cause pain, confusion, and give you a chance to escape or stop a hostile without ending a life. And that can be huge, especially if you want to protect yourself but avoid the legal risks of deadly force. Now, there are outliers. You know, some people say weapons that are higher powered, some people avoid them for fear of the legal consequences, or that the laws are going to try to ban them or make regulations. Well, guess what? There are some states already have them. And I'm not going to defend myself for that particular fear, especially if I have my family with me. But here's the catch. Even though all these are considered less lethal, they can still get you in trouble if misused. And I shouldn't even have to say that, but for those who don't know, now you're going to know. You know, as I stated earlier, you don't go out starting crap because you have a less lethal weapon on you, or any weapon for that matter. I mean, it's just, you just don't. I mean, shouldn't have to say that. But unfortunately, some people, they do. And eventually, someone's going to take less lethal and use it for criminal intentions. And then, you know, the people that are on the certain side of the political aisle was already trying to take 2A rights, they're going to try to create regulations for these non-lethal weapons. All right. Now, obviously, most states are lenient with these laws, but there's some that are strict. And some states treat pepper ball launchers like firearms. Others don't. Some areas need a permit. And others, they're restricted altogether. And even if they're legal, using one in a non-defensive situation can get you charged with assault. So make sure you know your local laws before you carry or deploy one. You know, states like California, you're not allowed to use pepper balls, any kind of chemical munitions in a launcher, which I think is a handicap. I mean, the criminals are basically going to out-arm you. New York, there's restrictions on them. And if I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, hit me up in the comments. But some states like New Jersey or whatnot, and some places in New York, you literally have to have a firearms permit to carry a less lethal launcher. So, you know, with that being said, you got to check your local laws. Now, here's a part that no one really wants to talk about, and I touched on it a couple times already, but we need to. And that's today, even when you're 100% in the right, defending yourself can still land you in hot water. You know, there's news headlines where homeowners are charged for defending his home, for engaging a hostile who's in his home, right? The self-defense claim sparks some sort of outrage. And they got protests, courthouse scenes, viral social media clips. It's all out there. It's all out there to look at. So we're living in some crazy times right now when it comes to actually being able to defend yourself and your loved ones, without you end up being the villain. Prosecutors in some cities, they're under intense political pressure. They don't always look at what happened. They look at who you are, how the media spins it, and whether your case fits the current narrative. And if your incident goes viral, you could be fighting more than just your attacker. You could be fighting public opinion and a biased justice system, and a biased public depending on what side of the political spectrum they're on. You get what I'm saying? And to be quite blunt, it's all a bunch of crap. It's literally all a bunch of crap, because these people put innocent victims, law-abiding citizens, at risk for their political narrative. So it's something to think about. Now, full disclosure, before I carry on here, I should have done it in the beginning. I'm not giving no legal advice. So I'm not telling you guys what to do, or I'm just stating facts here. So in no way, this is just for educational purposes. That way I'm not liable for anything. But self-defense can be used if you have common sense. All right? But even then, it feels like a gamble in today's world. So what can you do? You got to stay smart. You got to stay ready. And you got to cover all your bases. Know your local laws inside and out. Only use force when you have to. And that's something the majority of us already know, okay? Keep records of footage if possible. If there's a situation that you actually have the time that you already know it's starting to escalate, hey, take out that phone, record it, keep footage. But if not, you have to do what you have to do to protect yourself and your loved ones. And I'm speaking what I would do, I'm not telling you what to do, but common sense should be prevail in this situation. And you got to get trained. I've spoken this numerous times on other videos, physically and legally, to know your rights and know the implications. Owning a tool, these things are easy, but knowing when to use it and being able to defend on that decision in court is where the real challenge lies nowadays. So, look, guys, your safety matters to me. Your life matters, and so does your freedom. So make sure your defense plan protects both. If you got value from this video, hit that like button for me, subscribe for no more nonsense breakdowns, and let me know your comments. Do you feel like the system still supports your right to defend yourself? Or is it really becoming political, which I already know the answer to? I'd like to hear your take on it. So, with that being said, you guys stay safe out there. Till next time.